Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to be with you here at London Film Festival. Thanks a lot for taking the time. Maybe we can begin with an introduction to your beautiful film, Below the Clouds. For people who haven't seen it yet, what can they expect when they come to watch it?
They expect a long journey into time. Because when I was filming Naples, more than a space, I was trying to find the element of time between the present, the past, and the possible future. So this an element of stratification, an element that borders a thin line between the present that creates a sense of suspension. There's a train at the beginning of the film, which is for me like a metaphor for a time machine, and so they should expect to jump into this train and trusting that this train is going to arrive to the end of the film, and it's going to be a safe journey. That's what they should expect.
And I guess you could in some ways see it as part of a trilogy of sorts with your other films about everyday life in Italy. Why did you want to visit Naples? Why did you want to spend time with these people? What drew you to this place at this moment?
Well, like all my films, it happened a bit by, it was not something that came from me. There's a friend of mine, Pietro Marcello, he has this film here, Duse, you probably saw it. Pietro is from Naples, so he opened up the door, inviting me to make, because Naples is such an inaccessible city, you know, it's like filming in New York. Like if you're not from Naples, it's difficult to think I'm going to make a film in Naples, you know, because you feel like a bit you're entering a space that you don't belong to. So by this invitation, it was a challenge for me. I wanted somehow to show a Naples that is beyond the stereotype, the crime story, the crime scene. Naples has always been portrayed as such a harsh place, and you know, it's always associated to the Camorra, to the criminality, to all this, the poverty thing. And Naples is the most important city we have in Italy. It's a city that you can breathe history in every moment. You are constantly immersed in this stratification of time. You're always in contact with 3,000 years of history. And somehow Naples is also a universality. You know, for me, it's like a laboratory of the future, in a sense that things are going on there, they expand and they breathe throughout the world. So it's a bit a center for me, Naples. In fact, the film, it starts with a sentence of Cocteau that says the Vesuvio, which is the volcano in Naples, which is still active volcano, makes all the clouds of the world, you know. So this image that those clouds born into the volcano, they spread around the world, I think is a beautiful image. It's also a sense of universality. And if you look outside here today, we can see there are many clouds, and I'm sure one or two clouds are coming from the Vesuvio.
And maybe you can tell us a bit about the look and feel of the film. I think returning to black and white, is it for the first time in 30 years? And, you know, perhaps using the fixed camera positions.
My first film was in black and white, and Boatman. I shot that in India, in Benares. And I never had a need anymore to make a film in black and white. When I started this film, I thought black and white was somehow helping me to move away from the images, from something that from the we absorb about Naples. I wanted the black and white force us to see things in a different way, transform the present in a different way. But mostly I think it was the need to have the present to become archival almost, to become past in the moment I was filming it. There is a lot of there's a story about archival footage in the film inside the cinema, then it is abandoned and decrepit cinema. But I wanted also the reality to become immediately part of the past in this film. So I think black and white was a narrative choice. And also I shot the film in black and white. I didn't turn it up later in black and white. So it forced me also to look at things in a different way. And it forced me to look at things in black and white myself, you know, to understand the lighting, to understand every time the storytelling that I want to say. And so it was a long learning process for me, you know, to shoot in black and white became also a form of narration for me.
What do you think the impact as well of combining archival footage with contemporary scenes might be, perhaps making that link between past and present and creating some kind of fluidity?
That's I didn't want to use archival footage in that way. Because most of the time, people use the archival as a counterpoint to reality, and I didn't want to create that this element of counterpoint using the archival. And I had a lot of archival when I was writing already the film. I was searching for some archival footage. I didn't know how to use archival, and then when I encountered this abandoned cinema, I thought that I wanted to build a story. It's like this abandoned cinema were like archaeological sites, and I wanted somehow this empty screen, this unexistent screen, this unexistent theater that they lost their capacity of sharing images with people, still through this abandoned element, to the debris, to this element of the past. The memory of cinema was still coming out from the screen. So I created a story that was there. Then, of course, anyone can read, is that the meaning, is a metaphor that cinema is ending. No, for me, so the metaphor of cinema ending, but cinema will never end. But it's changing definitely the way we are watching cinema. And unfortunately, for me, it's going to be a big defeat, because the beautiful things about watching a film into a theater is not so much sharing that moment with other people, but for me, it's mostly the idea that we are smaller than what we watch, to have something big in front of you that somehow it's bigger than us. And that's what I love about being in a theater and watching a movie.
And I know you filmed it over a sort of period of 3 years and became very sort of immersed in the communities that we see depicted. Tell us what that process was like, what kind of connection you built with them, and what was that experience like, listening to these emergency call workers, for example.
Well, I never, when I started the film, I didn't know where this journey was going to take me. For me, all my work, it's all about time. And it's the big investment I put. I work as a one-person crew. And so for me, to create a sense of intimacy, to be able to wait for the right light, for the right encounter, to create a relationship, to create trust, it takes time. And mostly the time of my film is the time of the encounters, because without the encounter I will not have a film. So first I have to encounter a space, a place, and then I have to encounter stories and people that they live that place and that they reflect the force and the thickness of that place itself.
So I was going to ask, maybe you can tell us a bit about your collaboration with Daniel Blumberg for the score, and what kind of conversations you had about what it could add to your storytelling.
Yeah, well, Daniel, I know Daniel since many years. We met in Istanbul at the festival 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And we became immediately friends, and it was like, so there's a strong friendship, and mostly strong admiration of what he does. I really love his music, the way he's a real artist, the way he experiments, the way his concert, the way he conceived music. And I think we work somehow in the same way, we improvise, we adapt ourselves in a different moment, and from there things comes out. And when I finished the film, when I was editing the film, I never use score in my film. I never put music. But then in this film, I felt the need, mostly at the end of the film, when there's a scene of the submerged city, the Roman city submerged in water. I felt that there I needed some music, and I didn't know. So only Daniel can save me here. And he was working, he just finished to work on The Brutalist, and he was starting a new film. And so he was pretty busy, and we didn't have much time because Venice was coming up. So he came to see the movie, and he took some notes. And then when he finished to do his composition of the film he was working on, I came to London, and literally we had only 2 weeks to do the whole thing. So from the concept of the thing, the only thing I told Daniel is I don't want to recognize the instrument. I want everything to be somehow mysterious and coming from the earth, the sound. And he immediately thought that, with his sax player, the sound was coming from the water. We immersed in his bathtub. He immersed because it was his idea. He immersed the speaker in the bathtub with the sound of the sax, and was transformed in an incredible way. So then they did the performance with the score with the musician, and then we went to Naples and we recorded all that underwater again using the speaker, 5 microphone, and the sound that was there was incredible because it became like it transformed this sound in something else and gave to the film a different breath. So the end was only the last part of the film, and then once we saw how it was working, I had the need to have to go through the whole film and creating these slabs of sound where it gives a sense of suspension. And all that was made really between the concept, the idea, writing it, performing the things, go to Naples, recording, the mix was done in 2 weeks. So it was incredible how he worked and how he was able to arrive and to achieve what the film needed, not me, but he understood exactly what the film needed, and I think he added an incredible texture to the film.
I think you've said before that you like to try and find humanity in the shadows in your work. How do you think that this film conveys that, and how would you say maybe this film is distinct from other things you've done in the past, perhaps feels more introspective, more personal?
Well, everything is different for me. I try to forget always my previous film. Then, of course, it's always me filming, so it's my own interaction into the narrative. But I really tend always to forget about my previous work. And every film, you have to start almost like it's your first film. For me, there's always a challenge of finding a new language, new way of experimenting, how to tell a story, how to approach a story. So yes, this film is different from what some people say. This film reminds Sacro Gra, I don't know, but the film I did, the three whatever, the Sacro Gra, I don't know if you saw that film. Sacro Gra, did you see that film? Okay. But for me, every film has a different need. You have to immerse yourself always and find a new way to tell a story. And that's what I love about documentary, that there is still a space for experimental. Without experimental, well, cinema would die without experimental. But unfortunately, I see that in narrative film, there's less people able to do that, to find challenging new language, new form of narration, and it's getting like very flat, But in documentary, still there is a big merge of experimenting. And for me, that's what is very important. Every time to find a language and a way to tell a story, and I never know, because that has to come to reality. I don't want to impose myself into the reality, but I want the reality to somehow feed me with emotion, with things, and how to relate to that new approach and new things that I try to tell.
And in terms of perhaps themes that come out of the film, what do you hope that people might be reflecting on when they come out of the cinema?
I always say I don't like to make film with a statement, I don't like to achieve this. This is a film about this. I would like if 1,000 people watch the film, they have 1,000 different perceptions of the film. So that's for me what is important, that each one interact. Probably this is a film that demands a lot of work from the audience, because you have constantly to interact to what you are watching there. And there's for me, the ideal thing is having a dialogue from the audience to the moment that I'm sharing with them. And that's why I like when each person has a different perception of the film. So I don't want to say this my film is about and that's what you have to capture, because for every person I love to hear different kind of emotion, different kind of perspective, and different kind of world that is opening up.
As well, in some respects, what you said at the beginning, like having a completely different view on life in Naples and a representation of that culture and that place.
It's about even bigger, because at the end, I don't think this film is only about Naples, but it is about every of us. In the film, there's this very strong sense of fear dictated by the earthquake. But we live in a world where fear is part of of us. It's part of our daily life, this sense of unagedness, this sense of suspended future. We don't know where, and so there is that sense of fear, that type of threat. It's unfortunately right now is a universal thing, and I think when people watch in Tokyo or New York or things, they watch that in a way that reflect their own internal emotion.
And I understand it got the jury prize in Venice.
Yeah.
And what do awards like that? I know it's not your first time having such an accolade. What does that mean to you, to your work, and particularly perhaps a jury prize? I don't know the way you've obviously connected with those auteurs.
I always think that you have you never have to expect awards. When you get the awards, you have to forget. I was lucky enough to win the Golden Lion in Venice, and then the Golden Bear, and then this with this film, the special jury award. It helps. It's great, but then once you got that, you have to forget it and start like you never got any award, and start from scratch every time. I don't know. Now I have to follow this film because it's going to be a long journey for distribution, for let's see if it goes on the route of the Academy for Academy Award for documentary, and that's big. I did already twice that, and it's a big challenge and a big effort. So after that, I think I want to take a little time off because also everything is changing so fast around us that it's hard now to put the camera somewhere and say, this is the story I want to say. I don't know. I need a moment of detachment because every film I did since Sacro Gra up to this, I never stopped. It was like a film after another one. And I think things are changing so much around us that it will take, it's good to take some distance to see the story that one was to tell, especially the necessity to tell a story, Is this the story I want to say? Because when I do work, I immerse myself completely in the film and in that reality, and I have no more life. For me, I'm not a director who go to sleep at home. I stay in places where I film. I stay when I was with Notturno in Middle East for 4 years. I slept in places and I immersed myself in that reality. Naples did the same. Naples was a very pleasant place to be. But still, I lived in a hotel for like 3 years. So there's nothing else but what I'm doing. So maybe this is the moment to, and again, in these last years, everything is changing so fast, politically, socially, culturally. It's going everything so fast around that I have to take some time to see what did I miss around me and try to understand it again. Where am I now?
And what does it mean to you to have the film here at London Film Festival? And it always feels like there's such a strong connection and great respect and for Italian cinema here in the UK.
Most of my films, they came from Boatman, Sicardi, they all came to the London Film Festival. And it's been always, it's a great journey to go, from Venice to Toronto to New York Film Festival and to London. This actually in between was Busan Festival. So these are the 5 great festivals that happens, that to have able to do all of them, it's incredible. And then different audiences in such a small time, and sharing different interaction with your work from Busan to Toronto to New York to London. It's great to challenge yourself and see how is the reaction towards the work you did.
Yeah, and how have you found the reaction here so far? Everything I've read is absolutely glowing.
I think the film is been understood. The film is I had very, very positive reaction, and I think this film touches people in a certain way. So this is important. Talk to people again in different way. Everyone captures something else in the film. But what is important for me is like make people think about certain element or certain detail that are in the film. And many people told me the film keeps growing inside of you. The next day I woke up thinking about your film. So this is important. When a film, you don't just forget when you leave the theater, but somehow the film keeps growing and elaborating inside of your memory.
100%. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the film, and really enjoy presenting it here in London. Thank you.